Welcome to another CMC podcast. Today we're going to be talking about the process that CMC uses to design and engineer new products. And joining us today, we have Jason Lusk. Jason, can you say hi?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Jason Lusk, Director of Product Strategy at CMC.
Okay. And Tyler?
Hey, everybody. Tyler Mayer, Director of Engineering at CMC.
And Ole?
Hey, everybody. This is Ole. I'm Engineering Manager for New Product Design.
Okay. And Wayne?
Hey, everyone. Wayne Chapman, Rescue School Director.
Excellent. Thanks, guys. So I guess we'll kind of start it out by kind of talking about how does CMC decide what kind of products that we're actually going to develop and what to focus on. There's so much out there. So how do you decide what you're going to work on first? So Tyler, you want to start us out?
Yeah. We take inspiration from our products from a variety of sources. A key one being you guys, the Rescue School. I think Jason is probably the best to jump in and talk about our product strategy and how we develop the pipeline for products.
Yeah, Doug. So there's a couple ways we look at this, and one's more from the business perspective. And then one, which I think is the most important, is the customer perspective. So on the business side, we've got our CMC mission statement and our product vision, and that informs and helps guide us kind of almost in a quantitative way to evaluate potential product development projects. But really what it comes down to is marrying that up against our customer inputs. And we're fortunate enough to be in an industry where all of our professional users in rescue and rope access are really passionate about what they do. And so obtaining this kind of input for product, what we should make next, what we should develop next, what kind of innovative solutions we need to provide our customers, it's amazingly easy to get. And that's one of my favorite parts of being at CMC. So we get that from three sources, really. Of course, the CMC School, which is our number one inbound inputs on product. But we also have a great customer base, as I spoke to, and most are willing to help us, advise us on what would help them in the field. And then we've got our own engineering team, right? So they're always thinking about new ways, understanding the inbound inputs from both the school and from the users. Our engineering team comes up with ideas that might be solutions to make life easier, really. And what our goal is really safe and efficient. That's what advises our product vision. How do we make innovative products that make our customers safer and more efficient?
I would imagine too, with the kind of the wide breadth of customers that we do have, a lot of ideas come in. It must be difficult to be able to choose, which is going to be practical to pursue as far as what do you want to spend the time and the energy and obviously the significant financial resources developing? Because if it's somebody comes up with an idea and that 10 people in the world may want one, I would imagine that is not a very practical thing to pursue at that point.
Yeah, that's a good perspective, because as a business we have to think about that. And the way we do that is we have kind of a pseudo quantitative and qualitative evaluation process that product ideas need to meet. And it's not just me that make that call. It's my responsibility to build out the product roadmap, but it's really a collaboration of the CMC team, and that comes from our engineering team. It comes from a group of managers that are kind of essentially the product steering committee, if you will. So the way I kind of position it out there to most people when we discuss this is, I'm the one that's kind of lining them up, but I do that with inputs from a number of sources. And we do measure financial perspective, but we also, measure the value our products bring to the customer, in terms of them doing their work in a safer and more efficient way. And collectively, we come up with the product roadmap that kind of dictates where our resources go and how we spend those resources on providing products for customers.
Yeah, we definitely have a huge list of product ideas. The biggest challenge is resource, right? We can't work on everything, so we have to be diligent, like you say, in making sure that we're working on the best most valuable and most valuable to our customer products.
Excellent. So so let's kind of maybe dive a little deeper in that. So what does that process look like then to you when actually once you decide which products you're going to pursue? You obviously have to start with the design and then the engineering. So what does that look like?
Yeah. So obviously it varies a little bit depending on the type and the complexity of the product that we're looking to pursue. Something like the clutch or a new harness design will obviously be planned out in much more detail than something simpler like a product change or an accessory product. But for the most part, our process is the same, right? We are looking to develop the specification or the requirements of what the product needs to do, developing the plan for what certifications, if any, it's going to obtain, who and how does the validation process. All those things get decided up front before we even really kick off into the conceptual and detailed design and development. Beyond that is, the company we are and making sure that our products are safe and work in the applications. There's a generally a large component of testing and validation that needs to happen to ensure that our products are going to meet the needs of our customers. And in some cases that's covered by certification tests. In other cases it's not, and we'll build out a broader validation program. Generally, everything that we're going to spend the time and resources on to put to market will go through an extensive field trial program, because there's really nothing like getting the products out in customers' hands and seeing and feeling how they use it to understand if you've hit the mark or not. Many times things that we've thought have been great ideas don't quite work out as well when they're actually put out into application. And so all of our products, we tend to do as much time in the field as possible.
I think to add to that, obviously these development efforts start with an idea or a problem that we're trying to solve. And one of the really fun parts in the early stages is really thinking about that problem and trying to come up with new and maybe different concepts of how to go about solving it. And that conceptual stage and the early prototype testing is really rewarding and really fun. And we have great resources here. We have a number of 3D printers. We work with a bunch of rapid prototyping manufacturers where we can dream up a concept and build it on the computer in 3D, get it the next morning off the printer, and if we like it, have it in metal in a few days. That's on the hard goods side. On the soft goods side, because we're co-located with our manufacturing, we have access to all the sewing machines and prototype sewers. So it's a really rapid. It allows us to iterate really rapidly and try a whole bunch of different things before we get into that more regimented detailed design and then validation that Tyler spoke to.
Yeah, that's one of the things that's been really fun about CMC from an engineering standpoint is that, being able to holistically own the process, right? We can think about it, solicit ideas from the school or others, build quick prototypes. We have our test lab in the back where we can do testing. We send it back out to the field or to the school for additional validation. And then, we bring it into manufacturing right out the doors here. So it's a really awesome way to do product development and to, like Ole said, iterate quickly and make sure that the projects and the products are going to be tools that our customers can use and help them do their jobs.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. I don't get out to the home office, as often as some people do, but I know I always enjoy coming kind of down engineering road there and kind of looking at some of the different prototypes and to see the changes in the iterations that they go through, and in some cases, pretty significant. So maybe if Oli, if you want to start this one out, kind of talk about some of the design and engineering processes of let's start with the clutch. What was that like?
Yeah, so the clutch was a collaboration that we worked on together with Harkin, and the product was partially designed at the time that we became involved in it. We started out by doing a whole suite of testing to kind of understand its performance and compare it to some of the internal specifications that we had developed based on feedback from the MPD, and the MPD, I think at that time had been out in the market for 10 years or so. And really then we worked closely with the Harkin design team to iterate on pretty much all aspects, everything from the overall layout of the different components, the location of the shiv in relation to the infeed guides. We did a whole suite of shiv development where we looked at different shiv profiles and materials and to try to get the performance into the specification that we wanted. And a big part of that was developing load limiting capabilities. So we wanted to make sure that if the device does get overloaded, that it slips in a safe and predictable manner. And yeah, really dial in the performance of the device. Additionally, we looked at a lot of the ergonomic aspects of it, which is everything from loading it, how easy is it to load, how safe is it to load? Are there ways that users might load it incorrectly, and what the outcomes of those cases could be? And yeah, that's one where we decided to separate the attachment point from the side plate, which then kind of launched us into the whole latch development effort. So I guess it was a bit of a whirlwind of many different aspects of the design that we worked on. But I think that's just sort of the nature of that particular project and how it was a collaboration between the different companies and the different design teams. There was certainly a lot of testing in the later stages, especially for some of the CE standards. The energy testing was pretty memorable. So yeah, that's kind of the clutch in a nutshell, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, one interesting point of those kinds of developments is all the different constraints on the design, right? We're trying to balance load limiting versus high load performance versus, ability to release heavy loads and these descent energy tests from the certification. They all somewhat compete against each other for different, for the total performance of the device. And so it's a balancing act, and it just requires a lot of testing and understanding. And then the other challenge that all these products have is just the variability of rope. We're trying to design them to work with, rope diameters, various rope diameters, rope tolerances, different rope types and constructions from different manufacturers. And that really just adds a lot of complexity, because you may think you have a really good result for one type of rope, and then you grab something different and the results totally change. So that definitely is a complexity to our industry that we're still learning and understanding. But it's what makes these projects require so much testing, is that you can't necessarily use standard engineering practices to account for those factors. You can in some aspects, but nothing beats actually putting a rope in the device and pulling on it.
It's interesting you mentioned the variety of ropes and everything, but also not only the wear and different wear patterns on ropes and in a worn rope versus a new rope, but also the wear on the clutch itself. I know I was out there when you guys were doing some of the testing, the wear testing on it, and I was very impressed with the effort put forth into making sure that you had a good cross section of data looking at the wear of the rope or the wear of the device, and then also with different types of ropes. So it seems like that is a pretty extensive part of the testing, is to see how this is going to perform over a long period of time.
Yeah, totally. I think that's one of the things that isn't specifically addressed in the standards. So we have to make sure that we design and validate for real life scenarios. And we know these devices get used in dirty conditions and even from some of the rescue school feedback, I know you guys have certain places where classes are taught that are known to destroy gear because of the type of grit that's out there. For us to be able to replicate that in the lab is pretty challenging, because we're trying to put 10 years of life onto a device that, at least in the rope access application, could see 5 days a week of use. So we ended up developing a test protocol where we would embed abrasive material into a whole series of ropes, and then essentially descend on our test clutches to the point where they would wear out. And the best way to do that, or to really quantify what those results mean, is to do it in parallel with some other pieces of hardware that have known histories out in the market. So we were able to do that and convince ourselves that the product is going to last a long time and provide that value that an all metal device is kind of expected to bring. It's pretty interesting. I think when taking those tests to the extreme, we convinced ourselves that the life was good, but then we just kept wearing it out to see what would happen if somebody were to continue using it, even well after the wear indicators are gone and well after the device would have reached its end of life. So the interesting part there was, even after the device has reached the end of its life, we would continue to wear it until really the device fully destroyed itself. But we made sure that even in that case, it does it in a way that doesn't harm the rope and fails in a graceful way.
So the clutch, being a piece of hardware, obviously that had very hard definitive goals you had to meet along with certifications and so on. But I would imagine that a soft product like the Atom harness had to be much more difficult, because not only do you have the standard you need to meet, but people come in all shapes and sizes. And so to make a harness that's comfortable and functional for a wide group of people would be difficult. You want to kind of talk about how you went about designing and getting the engineering done on that so that it was a successful harness?
Yeah, I'll take that one first. You make an interesting point. So humans are to harnesses as rope is to hardware, essentially, right? These are the challenges. You got to fit all types, and that's a lot of variables. But I'll let Tyler speak to the Atom harness development.
Yeah, the Atom was a really fun project. We had learned a lot. We developed a harness line called the Helix and Response line. We'd learned a lot about changing our sewing methods, using more automated sewing but we hadn't really gone back and looked back at comfort in that harness. So the Atom development was really all about what makes a good harness and what makes a good harness comfortable. And so we revisited everything from the padding to the architecture to the attachment points and where your gear clips. And we spent a lot of time talking to users about what was important. We tried a lot of things really quickly, like we've talked about with the iteration, just to see what variables made the biggest impacts. So it was really interesting development. It was kind of a first for what I would call, the newer product development team and the newer engineering team at CMC. So we were learning a lot, and that made us so curious about, engaging with users and getting that feedback and trying to figure it out, analytically what makes a good harness. And because we were also targeting rope access users, I think we looked at what makes a harness comfortable when you're hanging in it for long periods of time, trying to make it really supportive and fit really well. And I think using that feedback helped just elevate our harness game. And we're really proud of what's came out of the Atom harness. The feedback that we've gotten over its life has been great. The other really interesting part about the Atom that we've never done before was the configurability aspect. Through all the questions that we asked of users, one thing that we always joke about is you ask 10 people what makes a good harness and you get 10 answers and they're all right. So trying to let people make choices about what they want in a harness is really important, we think. It's hugely challenging from a design and certification and manufacturing standpoint. So building out the process to build a lot of one harness is challenging, and to do that, both cost effectively and efficiently and with good quality and made without errors is a huge challenge that we're uniquely capable of supporting. So that's been another background development to that project that isn't necessarily seen by our customers or others.
Well, and I think Wayne can speak too from the school side with the Atom harness. That configurability is definitely well liked by the school staff, because those of us who have Atom harnesses, I think if you were to sit and compare each of them, every harness from every instructor that uses an Atom is different.
Yeah, very true. I mean, that's what I think makes the harness such a success, is its ability to be customized via the drop-down menu for things that people like. They're very popular. They're very comfortable. Our students absolutely love them.
Well, and it kind of at the opposite end of the spectrum, as far as going from a very robust, both full body or sit harness with with the removable chest harness. The Outback is the newest harness out there. You want to talk about how that product came about and what was involved in getting that to market?
Yeah, I'll take that initial, and then I'll hand it over to Ole, who is the designer on that unit. So that's another example of listening to our customers. In this case, from my perspective, the product perspective, we mentioned earlier, our school, our customers, our engineering team, those are all inputs to advise on product. But there's another category, and those are thought leaders around the world, those that have a larger voice than maybe others in rescue and access. And that Outback harness came from one of those thought leaders, and that was out of Australia via Richard Delaney, where he had an idea that he, I think, had been talking to a number of parties about. And from my perspective and my background, you need to listen to those customers. And so we did, and then Ole took it from there, and it evolved from that initial description. And I'll let Ole speak to that.
Yeah, sure. So Richard has become a kind of great friend over this effort, and it was awesome to have somebody like him come to us with an idea of something that he saw a need for and that he was excited about. So we, put that idea and that challenge through our design and development process. So we still went through a bunch of ideation around how to really, the key of it was how to connect the leg loops to the belt without needing to open the belt, and doing that in a efficient way where it would be easy enough to just throw on the leg loops if you're already wearing the belt. I mean, that's really the key, or the key idea behind the product. So we tried all kinds of different things, custom hardware. We were cutting different metal. We were playing around with different sheet metal ideas, and ultimately, I've been interested in soft connections for a while, and we ended up with a girth hitch connection for that to create that joint between the leg loops and the belt. The development process was great, working with Nancy, our prototype sewer here. She could really quickly make new prototypes, which we would then test internally and then send down to Australia for Richard to give us feedback on, and also share them and with guys from the rescue school, different a wide range of different users, mostly backcountry search and rescue users, but also some tactical users and people from a wide variety of the rescue world. And I think it was really interesting. Richard's original concept was super minimal. He wanted it to be just a very, very stripped down harness, and some of the feedback from other users were they were looking for some additional features, like the rear connection loops, between the belt and the leg loops, and between the chest harness and the belt. So we added those and made them optional so that users could decide whether or not they wanted to make those connections and whether they wanted to carry them. So that was, I think, from a product feature point of view, that was a really interesting development. And then we also played around with some new materials. Both the chest harness and the bag uses some really interesting Kevlar reinforced material that has a really nice body to it and stiffness. And we were able to kind of roll that into the development cycle. I think it turned out to be a extremely stripped down harness that still has a lot of capabilities and is really convertible. You can add a chest ascender to it. You can, choose your own configuration for whatever best suits your needs.
And gear loops coming soon.
Gear loops coming soon. Yeah.
Excellent. That'll be a very welcomed addition to that harness. And I guess that may actually lead perfectly into this next question here. Have you had any real specific aha moments? When you've been looking at and designing these products or in the process.
We were joking around before this recording, talking about whether you meant ha-ha moments.
Yeah, we probably have more ha-ha moments than aha moments, but it's just a change of the letters, and you go from one to the other.
Yeah. What were you guys thinking?
Yeah. So, but yeah, we were thinking about this in preparation. What are the aha moments, and I think Ola's mentioned some of them. On the clutch, separating the rope loading from the attachment point, that was a great one, and that's been well received. And it's fun when you either design those in and realize how great it is, or you stumble upon them. Either way, we'll take them either way. But I don't know if you guys want to speak to any of the others.
Yeah, I think one that came to mind was during the development of the lever system. I had two different sort of aha moments. One was one of my instructors in the CMC Rescue School. We were talking about this new emergency descent device we were developing, and I was really excited to talk about performance features of it. And his main feedback was, I don't really like wearing them because they're too cumbersome, and I'm more worried about getting stuck in a building with all the gear that I'm already carrying. I'm not really excited about carrying any more gear. So to me, that kind of came out of left field. I was thinking that wasn't something that I was primarily focused on. And then a little bit later on that same project, we had a chance to show a prototype to a large fire department here in California. And we were talking about the system kind of from the carabiner that attaches to your harness to, the descender, and their understanding of the system was really had a lot to do with where it's packaged on the firefighter. And we ended up going out to the rescue truck and showed the turnout gear. We were shown the turnout gear, and I said, well, where would you want to put it if you could carry it anywhere? And they happened to have a pocket on their turnout jacket that used to carry a last chance breather cartridge that was available. And the firefighter said, well, can you put it in here? And I looked at it and thought, wow, that's a pretty small pocket, but we could try. And we ended up getting one of those turnout coats back here and working with, again, with our prototype sewers and sort of reconfiguring the system. And we were already using the fire escape web from the Escape Artist product. We were able to really fit that whole system into this relatively small pocket. And that was something that, both of those interactions really led us down that path of trying to miniaturize that system as much as we could. And I'm happy to say that the instructor who I was originally talking to, who said he wouldn't carry an escape system, now carries a lever system. So that makes me feel pretty good.
Yeah, that's excellent. I know there's been some other interactions with the school and with engineering. I know just something as simple as the patient tie-in kits, the padding underneath the buckles there. I know, we had asked, hey, it'd be nice if the padding was there. And when one of the engineers was in the class, they were actually the victim in the basket, and they very quickly saw, oh yeah, we need more padding here.
Yeah, that was me.
That was a very that was a very quick change. Yeah. So.
For me, the aha moments come from just seeing how the products are used and watching and interacting with the customers and how our products get used. I mean, I remember early on in the clutch development, we had the brand new prototype that was just put together, and I handed it to Leroy, and the first thing he did was threw it in a bucket full of mud and jammed dirt and grass and whatever else he could find in there just to say, this is what it's going to look like in the field. And you can't just have a clean lab environment to do your testing. You have to account for the variables that we will see in our environments and where we're using these things. And it may be raining, and it may be freezing, and it may be wet, or it may be dirty. And that to me was really eye-opening, just from how and where these products have to perform. It's definitely adds to the challenge, especially when you're designing life safety equipment.
Yeah, and I think I would probably add to that in terms of, not a product specific aha moment, but I've been lucky enough to go through our rescue classes, and to me, hanging on a pulley that we had just finished designing over a 100+ foot edge was a real aha moment. Just physically having to rely on that equipment and realizing that is what the equipment is intended to do day in and day out, reliably and safely, is definitely something that I took home with me from that experience.
A moment.
So. Actually, that kind of leads pretty nicely into the next question here is, what kind of challenges do you face when you're designing and kind of engineering, or in some cases re-engineering, modifying, coming out with, the version 2.0 of a piece of equipment? What kind of challenges do you face?
Yeah, I think we hit on a few of them, but, rope is a huge challenge for all the reasons we talked about, all the variability, the environment that these products go into, the life safety nature, and the fact that, we are providing equipment that people are going to trust their lives to. that becomes really challenging from a personal level, right? I go home at night and I think about how and where the equipment we're designing is going to be used, and all the things that could potentially happen. So there's a lot of that personal challenge even in the designing and development of equipment. So we take it very seriously, and that adds to, the testing and the validation we do to make sure that we are confident putting ourselves on it as well as any of our customers. So,
well, I think one of the unique challenges too, no matter how fast you can come up with something, and what comes to mind is the G11. Everyone was so proud of the G11 when it came out, and it's a phenomenal product. And at ITERS, it was being discussed, and the chant instantly became, okay, there's G11, we want to see T9. So it's just like, this just hit the market. This is people already haven't even fully implemented G11, and you're already talking about T9.
Yeah.
That must be a challenge for you guys too.
Definitely. It's like to do the testing and validation and certification takes time, right? To do that and do that well is years, or a year or multiple years. And when you have that cadence of development and the market changing so quickly, it is hard to keep up and stay ahead. So we do have to think years out when we're doing development, and make sure that we're trying to spot those trends and stay ahead of them if at all possible. So that is another challenge for sure.
Yeah, I have no problem with customers telling us what they want next. I mean, that's hugely important to us, right? It's CMC, it's our competitors, it's our customers that move what we do forward, and not what we do, meaning CMC does, what our rescuer and access customers do forward, right? That's our goal. So it's really a collective, all those groups together try to move it forward. And so getting input from a customer telling us, that they're not quite, they acknowledge it. Okay, great, G11. What's the next step? That's from my perspective, that's what a product guy wants to hear, and then we figure out how we do that.
Well, and it's interesting. You talk about the feedback too, because it isn't only after the product comes out. You had mentioned before about all the different people that test the products. And kind of put it through its trials, if you will, before it even, comes to market, or in some cases, even before it goes through UL testing, like for NFPA, to check for NFPA compliance. So, obviously, being part of the school, we're one of the components that you use to field test gear. So maybe, Wayne, do you want to talk about maybe some of the experiences that you've had in the school testing gear?
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of fun working with Tyler's group and Jason's group and trying to come up with, a final product. Kind of what happens is they'll reach out to either myself or John, my predecessor, and say, hey, we have this idea. And then what we do is we kind of look at our instructor category and say, well, who has this particular background? Like, for example, you guys were talking about the Outback. So we had a couple of guys that had a backcountry experience. So he says, well, let's get this product to these guys and have them test it in their workplace. And, if there's holes to be poked in it, let's do it with a guy that wears it in that environment. After a while, they'll send a report to the folks at CMC and say, hey, here are some recommendations we have. And the question then becomes, are those recommendations, are they just nice to have? Do they need to have? Is it something that's like, well, yeah, it's kind of nice, but it won't pass certification if we do that or whatever, right? But it is very nice to be a part of something and say, hey, yeah, you know what, if we do this, or a couple of guys notice that it rides weird, and then Tyler's group, right, they fix it and it's okay, now try this, and we go back and forth until we have a product where the guys go, yeah, I think this is good. So it's neat to be a part of it and have input along with a lot of other people on what works best. You guys had made the comment earlier about Leroy stuffing the stuff into the mud. Those things happen, right? In our classes, it'll be dirty and muddy and somebody drops it and there's no way to wash it off, well, guess what? That's the way this thing is going to work. Or I remember with one of our devices, they sent it to one of our guys who lives in Colorado in the middle of winter, and he got it, opened it up, walked out behind the fire station, stuffed it in the snow overnight, and pulled out the next day. Said, "Okay, let's make this thing work now." So, kind of some field testing with some really bizarre environmental factors that could very well happen, with an end user.
Yeah, and I'm sure that the engineers appreciate the nice tone and sugar-coated results that they get from the school, right? If we don't like a product. Yeah.
Fortunately, we have thick skin here.
Yeah.
There's
exactly. Yeah.
Like that helps develop a product, like honest feedback. Hearing the truth as opposed to, somebody just telling you that you've done it right or telling you you're doing a good job when that's not really what they're thinking. So that's one thing that we've always got and we've always appreciated from the school and from others is honest feedback about the products and their value.
Yeah, I think you're going to hear it sooner or later, and we'd rather hear it sooner because then we still have a chance to correct course, That's kind of our big goal is once the product's through certification and is, out in the market, it's really difficult to make changes. And that's why we really value that timely feedback of getting feedback as early and as as honest as we can and making sure that it's applicable to the status of the design as well.
Well, I think it's encouraging too for for the instructors that have been involved in field testing of gear that we know you guys listen. Just simple little things like the latch design and the clutch and all the different iterations that went through. Or I think one of the bigger ones, one of the more recent ones too, is the triskelion tripod. That was you guys took a lot of input from the school on that. I know it's kind of interesting. All the instructors can look at that and can point out different things that were pointed out. Hey, this would be nice if you did the larger pins, the footsteps, the large markings on the where the holes are and so on, legs that don't slide out. Just little things like that make a huge difference in the end result and the usability of the product, where you guys really do listen.
Yeah, that one is while Tyler and Ole are off designing what we've just talked about, that example, that product, the Triskelion, an industrial tripod, which there are a number of them on the market. Sometimes you just need to look at products and not be satisfied with the fact that they've been the way they've been for 30, 40 years. So in that case, it was really a collaboration between my team, the school, as you said, Doug, and our partner out of Australia to make a CMC version of a tripod that thought about all the details. And nobody knows the details when it comes down to a rescue scenario in, let's say, a confined space that requires a tripod than you guys. And so we applied those details, and it's been well received. And we get comments that we've thought of on that product, that we've thought of everything. So that's a pretty good feeling to get that feedback from our customers.
And then also, you talked a little bit about this. Maybe you can go a little bit more in depth too. I know with the clutch and like with the newest line of access bags that just came out, you use some other third-party field testers too to kind of run things through its paces.
Yeah, we and we're going through that right now for something that we're working on and we're really excited about. But it involves, the school is our number one for that honest feedback, right? You guys aren't going to hold back. You are part of the CMC organization, and we rely on that, and we need that. And we can also get a little longevity testing in the school, right? Because we'll leave those devices with the school over time. And then the other field testers are users in our rescue or access community, and those are sometimes friends of CMC. Sometimes we introduce ourselves to maybe customers that we have that we don't really know that well. Try to mix up the inputs, and we'll get the product to them for a number of weeks with kind of a list of what we want to achieve and what the objective is, and pull that feedback back in, making sure we're meeting our objectives on the product. And again, sometimes it's hard to hear that your baby's ugly, but it's absolutely necessary. And we mourn that for a few minutes. Maybe it's a few hours, maybe it's a couple of days, but we make the right decision in the end, right? With that feedback, we make the changes we need to make.
Yeah, I think it's also important to note, we're a small company, right? We're not giant. We don't have infinite resources. And so wherever we can use partners to help us with our development or help us with our testing or evaluation, that's a huge advantage for us to work with. So, we have a great partner for rope development. We have a great partner for hardware development in Harken and Rock Exotica. We have people like Ferno and others that we can use to help us not only develop and come up with products, but also test and validate as well.
Excellent. So you kind of alluded to you have some things out there with those third-party testers right now. So what can anyone let anything out of the bag here? Or what should customers expect in the future from products come out from you guys here?
Well, I'd love to share, but obviously we're not going to. But they will be, future products are going to be innovative, and they're going to meet our objectives of delivering safer and more efficient products for rescuers and for rope access techs. That's our objective. And yeah, we've got, like we've talked about earlier, a deep roadmap. We've got limited resources, so we just chip away at those one by one. I think this year's been a great year for us. We've got, the clutch 13 millimeter product went out on the market early in the year in concert with our partner Harken. The Outback harness, which we touched on, the gated hook for the escape system, the lever escape system, which Ole worked on. And I'd encourage people to look at that, right? Tyler and Ole not only made a new anchor in that gated hook, but they've certified it as a descender. So you can now rescue a victim and then bail out after you rescue that victim. That's following the Kelly burn technique. And so these are what we think are innovative steps to make our customer lives, easier, safer, more efficient. The G11 is another great one. We've mentioned that one. So it's been a good year, and we expect the rest of the year and next year is going to continue with products that are as exciting.
Yeah. And, looking at that pipeline and looking at the resources, we feel like one of the best places for CMC to spend our efforts is increasing and accelerating product development as much as possible. So, we're hiring new engineers, we're hiring people to support project management, we're hiring in those areas that can help us, get products to market, more efficiently. And so the future is bright, lots of innovation, lots of fun products, and yeah, hopefully more interaction between our engineering team and the school and others, and it'll be...
That's fantastic. Hopefully you could add a few hours to each day, right?
I know.
28, 29, 30 hours, that'd be helpful probably. So, well, let's, if we can maybe start wrapping up here. Wayne, anything to close us out here?
No, the school enjoys being a part of the process. It's kind of fun to be at the ground level and have input on things that will have an effect on the rescue community as a whole.
Excellent. Ole.
Yeah, I'm just excited to be able to, work on these development projects. I think it's really a privilege to work on things that are used to help save people's lives or keep people safe in risky environments. And it's been really fun to interact and talk to all of our users. That's always really super exciting, both in the development process and then once the products are out there. I see them on Instagram. It's it's pretty fun to see. So it's I'm just excited to be part of the team here.
Great. Hey, Tyler.
Yeah, no, this has been a lot of fun. Great to talk to you, Doug, and Wayne, to share our story, share all the complexities that go into the product development and testing and validation. It's a huge effort that probably doesn't come across as much as it relative to as much effort as it takes. So it's exciting to talk about that and give people a little bit of insight about what it takes to actually bring a product to market.
Great. And Jason.
Yeah, fun discussion today. As I said earlier, I love working at CMC. It's a noble cause. We're an employee-owned company, so we all have a mission and a purpose. It's very clear to us what that purpose is, and we get affirmations from our customers all the time. And it's like I said at the beginning, it's the best part is working somewhere that produces a product where the customer is willing to spend their time to help advise you. They are incredibly passionate about what they do, whether it be a rescuer or a rope access tech. That is the best part. Obtaining that feedback and turning it into product and advising the design through the process is really fun. And then, all of us end up, whenever a news story comes on with either rescue operation, we're all glued to it, trying to spot the CMC product in it. And it's a great feeling when you see it. Excellent.
And to kind of wrap things up, I'd like to kind of comment too on Tyler's comment there about the work, the amount of work that goes into this. And I think that's one of the things I enjoy the most when I do come out to the shop is to see all the behind the scenes work and testing going on of the new products, things that are way above and beyond what the NFPA requirements or the CE requirements and so are. Just kind of like Ole spoke about, just to assure that it's a good, safe product that's going to be durable. All those things that people never see or never hear about in the background are just utterly amazing to see. And I think that sometimes it can be somewhat tedious to perform all those tests and everything, but it definitely, the products, I think, and of course I'm a little biased, but I think it shows in the products and the quality and how well they work. So, well, I'd like to thank everyone that has tuned in to this edition of the CMC podcast, and stay tuned for the next one. Thank you.